The playlist was perfect, or at least, it would have been. I sat hunched over my laptop in our Denver apartment, methodically arranging songs that told the story of Samantha and me. At Last by Etta James for our first dance. Can't Help Myself by the Four Tops because she'd hummed it while making breakfast the morning after we moved in together. September by Earth, Wind and Fire because we danced to it, drunk and laughing, at her cousin's wedding where I first knew I wanted to marry her. Thursday evening, 3 days before our wedding. The caterer was confirmed, the flowers ordered, my groomsmen's ties pressed and hanging in the spare bedroom. Everything was falling into place with the precision I'd applied to software development for the past 8 years. Variables defined, functions tested, expected outcomes calculated. The Facebook Messenger notification chimed like a death knell. I almost ignored it. Almost. But Samantha's profile picture, that radiant smile from our engagement photos, caught my eye in the corner of my screen. She'd used my laptop earlier that week to order last-minute bridesmaid accessories, must have forgotten to log out. The notification showed she'd been added to a group chat called Bachelorette Aftermath. Curiosity. That's what killed the cat, and it's what killed the man I used to be. I clicked. The chat exploded across my screen in a cascade of messages, photos, and videos that rewrote the last 3 years of my life in 30 seconds. My hands went numb first, then started shaking as I watched video after video from last Saturday night's bachelorette party. Not the sanitized version Samantha had described. Dinner, a few drinks, some harmless dancing. This was different. This was pornographic. The first video showed my fiance, the woman I'd planned to vow eternal fidelity to in 72 hours, grinding against a male stripper with the enthusiasm of a woman in heat. Her mouth found his, tongues dancing as her hands roamed his chest. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was her face, pure, uninhibited joy, the same expression she'd worn when I proposed. My peripheral vision caught movement in subsequent videos. Her sisters, Rebecca and Michelle, married women with children and mortgages and Christmas card families, were engaged in similar performances with other strippers. Rebecca, mother of 2, had her hands down a performer's pants while her sister-in-law cheered. Michelle was topless, straddling another man while the group chanted encouragement. The group chat messages told the rest of the story. Samantha wrote, "OMG, dying watching these, can't believe we went that far." Rebecca replied, "What happens in Vegas? Derek can never see these." Michelle added, "Jason would literally divorce me. Worth it, though." Bridesmaid Katie responded, "You girls are wild. That was the hottest thing I've ever seen." Samantha concluded, 3 days until I'm a boring married woman. Had to get it out of my system. Get it out of her system. I read that line 17 times, each repetition carving deeper into what remained of my chest cavity. My breathing became mechanical. In for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 4. The same pattern I used to debug complex code, to stay calm under pressure. But this wasn't code. This was my life disintegrating in real time. I began screen capping. Every video, every message, every damning piece of evidence. My hands moved with surgical precision while my mind detached from the emotional carnage. I uploaded everything to 3 separate cloud storage accounts, copied files to 2 external drives, organized them by timestamp and participant. If I was going to die tonight, I was going to be thorough about it. The evidence painted a story of systematic deception. This hadn't been a moment of weakness or poor judgment. The chat revealed weeks of planning, discussions of boundaries they intended to cross, promises to take secrets to the grave. Samantha had orchestrated the entire evening, including bringing a photographer, her single cousin Maya, to document their betrayals. 2 hours passed in evidence collection. 2 hours of watching the woman I loved enthusiastically betraying everything we'd built together. 2 hours of realizing that while I'd been carefully crafting our wedding playlist, she'd been planning her last hurrah before settling for a lifetime of lying to my face. When I finally closed the laptop, the apartment felt different. The engagement photos on our mantle seemed to mock me. The wedding dress hanging in our bedroom closet was a costume for a play I'd never agreed to star in. Even our cat, Pixel, seemed to watch me with knowing eyes, as if he'd sensed the truth I'd been too naive to see. I walked to our bedroom and stared at my wedding suit, still in its dry cleaning bag. The man who'd bought that suit was optimistic, trusting, ready to pledge his life to someone he thought he knew. That man was an idiot. That man was dead. But as I stood there, something else stirred in the wreckage of my shattered worldview. Not rage. Rage was hot and sloppy and led to mistakes. This was colder, more calculated. This was the part of my brain that had debugged thousand-ling programs, that had built systems from nothing but logic and determination. I had 72 hours to decide who I wanted to become. The groom was dead, but something darker was being born. Friday arrived with cruel normalcy, sunshine streaming through our bedroom windows, Samantha humming in the shower, the smell of coffee from our automatic timer. She emerged in her terry cloth robe, radiant and relaxed, the picture of a bride-to-be without a care in the world. "Morning, handsome," Samantha said, kissing my cheek. "Ready for tonight? The guys are going to destroy you at that poker game." My bachelor party. Right. The tame evening of cards and beer I'd planned with my groomsmen while she'd been participating in what amounted to a live sex show. The irony would have been funny if it hadn't felt like swallowing glass. "Looking forward to it," I replied, my voice steady. 10 hours of research had taught me everything I needed to know about maintaining operational security. Act normal, change nothing, execute the plan. After she left for her final dress fitting, I opened my laptop and began building profiles on my targets. Derek Martinez and Jason Rodriguez, husbands of Rebecca and Michelle, respectively. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, public records. Construction foreman and corporate accountant, both living in suburban Denver, both fathers, both about to have their lives imploded by information they deserved to possess. Derek first. 8 years married, 2 kids under 10, worked for Morrison Construction. His social media showed a devoted father who coached Little League and posted anniversary tributes that would break your heart. Recent photos revealed subtle changes. Forced smiles, shadows under his eyes. Rebecca had been distant lately, according to his cryptic posts about working through things. Jason was different. 5 years married, no kids yet, worked as a senior accountant at Preston and Associates downtown. His feed was more restrained, professional, but I caught glimpses of strain there too. A recent post about appreciating the people who stick by you had an undertone of desperation. Both men were already sensing something was wrong. I was about to confirm their worst fears. I called Derek first, reaching him during his lunch break. "Derek Martinez?" I asked when he answered. "Yeah. Who's this?" Derek responded. "Ethan Brooks. I'm marrying Samantha Martinez this Sunday, Rebecca's brother-in-law." "Oh, hey, man, congratulations. Rebecca's been excited about the wedding. What's up?" The words came out steady, rehearsed. "I need to meet with you today. It's about Rebecca and Samantha. There's something you need to know." Silence stretched between us like a taut wire. "What kind of something?" Derek asked, his voice tightening. "The kind that's better discussed in person. Can you meet me at Common Grounds on Colfax at 2? "Ethan, you're scaring me here." "I'm sorry, Derek, but you deserve to know the truth," I replied. Common Grounds was perfect. Public enough to prevent violence, private enough for devastating conversations. I arrived early, chose a corner table with clear sightlines, and waited. My phone contained enough evidence to destroy 3 marriages. The responsibility felt heavier than I'd expected. Derek walked in at exactly 2:00 p.m., scanning the room until our eyes met. He was shorter than I'd expected, maybe 5'8", with the weathered hands and direct gaze of a man who built things for a living. He sat down across from me like he was approaching a bomb. "All right, talk," Derek said without preamble. I slid my tablet across the table, video cued and ready. "This is from Samantha's bachelorette party, last Saturday. Rebecca is in several of these." He watched for 30 seconds before his face went gray. "Jesus Christ." "There's more," I said quietly. 20 minutes later, Derek Martinez was a different man. The devoted husband had been replaced by something harder, more angular, He stared at the evidence with the expression of someone calculating load-bearing weights for a structure that was about to collapse. "How long have you known?" Derek asked. "Since last night. I'm calling Jason next," I replied. "Good." Derek stood up, pocketing screenshots I'd printed for him. "Rebecca's picking up the kids at 5. I'll be waiting." "Derek," I began. "No." His voice carried the finality of a sledgehammer. 8 years. 2 kids. And she's grinding on some asshole while her sister cheers. He paused at the table's edge. "Sunday's going to be interesting." Jason required a different approach. I caught him at Starbucks near his office building, a neat man in his early 30s who looked like he solved problems with spreadsheets. His reaction was quieter, but no less devastating. "I knew something was wrong," Jason said, scrolling through evidence on my phone. "Michelle's been different since the party. Secretive, happy in a way that didn't include me." He looked up. "What's your plan?" "Tomorrow. Samantha's parents' house during the final wedding planning session. All 3 women, their parents, maximum witnesses." "You want to do this together?" Jason asked. "Debbie did it together," I said. "Seems fitting." By 6 p.m., I had 2 allies and a coordinated plan. 3 tablets, 3 sets of evidence, 3 marriages about to detonate simultaneously. We synchronized our watches like a military operation, because that's what this had become. Strategic warfare against an enemy that had declared war on us first. My phone buzzed with a text from Samantha. "Can't wait to marry you on Sunday. Love you forever. Forever." The word tasted like ashes. She'd used it while straddling another man 6 days ago, and she'd use it again in 48 hours, while lying to my face in front of God and our families. But Sunday wasn't about the wedding anymore. Sunday was about justice. The Martinez family home buzzed with pre-wedding energy when I arrived Saturday afternoon. Samantha's mother, Elena, was arranging centerpieces in the dining room while her father, Carlos, reviewed seating charts at the kitchen table. The 3 sisters clustered around the breakfast bar, champagne glasses in hand, laughing over last-minute details with the easy intimacy of shared secrets. "There's our groom," Rebecca called out, her voice bright with artificial cheer. She looked exactly like someone who'd spent the week waiting for her husband to find certain videos. Dark circles under carefully applied concealer, wine at 2 p.m., that desperate brightness of someone trying too hard to act normal. Michelle raised her glass. "To Ethan, welcome to the family." Samantha glowed beside them, radiant in a sundress that made her look like the perfect bride-to-be. She kissed me when I approached, tasting like champagne and lies. "How are you feeling? Nervous?" "Ready for tomorrow," I said, which was true enough. The doorbell rang at 2:17 p.m. Derek's arrival pulled the first thread from their carefully constructed tapestry of deception. He looked like a man who'd slept 3 hours in the past week, which probably wasn't far from the truth. "Derek," Elena called from the kitchen. "Perfect timing. We need a man's opinion on the table arrangements." "Actually," Derek replied, positioning himself near the living room entrance, "I think I'll wait for Jason." Rebecca's smile faltered. "Jason? Why is Jason coming?" Before Derek could answer, the doorbell rang again. Jason entered with the measured precision of someone who'd spent the morning reviewing legal documents. He nodded to me, took his position near the back patio door, and checked his watch. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "Boys, what's this about?" Carlos asked, setting down his seating chart. I moved to the center of the room, ensuring everyone had a clear view. 3 women, 2 parents, 2 brothers-in-law, all witnesses to what came next. My hands were steady as I pulled out my tablet. "Before the wedding tomorrow, there's something everyone needs to see." "Ethan," Samantha said, her voice carrying a warning note. "What are you doing?" "I'm showing everyone what you did at your bachelorette party." The silence that followed was profound. Rebecca went white. Michelle started shaking her head before I'd even hit play. Samantha's face cycled through confusion, realization, and panic in the space of 3 seconds. "It was just harmless fun," Rebecca said quickly. "Girls' night out, nothing serious." Was this harmless? I turned the tablet toward the room. The video played on the large screen. Samantha, grinding against a male stripper with pornographic enthusiasm. Rebecca, married mother of two, with her hands down another performer's pants. Michelle, topless and straddling a third man while the group cheered. Elena Martinez dropped her wine glass. The sound of shattering crystal punctuated the destruction of 3 marriages. "Oh my God," Carlos whispered. "It's not what it looks like," Samantha said, but her voice had lost all conviction. Derek stepped forward, his own tablet ready. "Here's what it looked like from another angle." More footage, different perspectives, same betrayals. Rebecca tried to cover her face, but the damage was done. Jason's voice cut through the chaos with accounting precision. "Michelle, this is you saying, and I quote, 'Jason would literally divorce me, worth it though.'" He read from his phone, Michelle's own words condemning her. The sisters' unity crumbled like a house built on sand. Rebecca turned on Samantha first. "This was your idea. You planned the whole thing." "I didn't force you to," Samantha protested. "You said it would be fun. You said no one would ever know," Rebecca shot back. Michelle joined the feeding frenzy. "Samantha brought the photographer. She documented everything." "You documented it?" Samantha's voice climbed toward hysteria. "You were the one who—" "Stop." My voice cut through their blame-shifting with surgical precision. "All 3 of you participated. All 3 of you lied. All 3 of you betrayed your families." Elena was crying now, her perfect wedding preparations forgotten. Carlos stood frozen, watching his daughters destroy themselves with their own words. The family dynamics I'd observed from the outside, their closeness, their shared secrets, their fierce loyalty, had inverted into mutual destruction in less than 10 minutes. "Ethan, please." Samantha stepped toward me, tears streaming. "It was a mistake. I love you. I'm marrying you tomorrow." "No," I said quietly. "You're not." I reached into my jacket and pulled out her engagement ring. The 2-carat diamond she'd worn for 18 months, the ring I'd saved 6 months to afford. The symbol of a future that had never really existed. I placed it on the coffee table between us. "The wedding is canceled. The vendors have been notified. The deposits are forfeit. You'll receive a detailed accounting of the financial consequences of your choices." "Eden," Samantha began. "I'm done." I looked around the room one last time, memorizing the faces of people who'd welcomed me as family while harboring their daughters' betrayals. "You all knew, didn't you? Parents always know." Elena's sob confirmed my suspicion. I walked toward the door, Derek and Jason flanking me like an honor guard. At the threshold, I turned back to address the wreckage. "Samantha, you said you needed to get it out of your system before becoming a boring married woman. Congratulations, you're not going to be a married woman at all." The door closed behind us on the sound of Elena Martinez's heartbroken wailing and the raised voices of 3 women who'd destroyed everything good in their lives for 30 minutes of sexual gratification with strangers. Outside, the Colorado sunshine felt like absolution. Jason lit a cigarette with shaking hands. Derek stared at the house like he was calculating its demolition. "That went better than expected," I said. "Better?" Jason laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "We just nuked 3 marriages in front of their parents." "They nuked the marriages," I corrected. "We just provided the evidence." We stood there for a moment, 3 men who'd walked into that house as husbands and fiancé and walked out as something else entirely. The future stretched ahead of us, uncertain but clean. No more lies, no more betrayals, no more pretending that love meant accepting disrespect. Tomorrow was supposed to be my wedding day. Instead, it would be the first day of whatever came next. The week following Saturday's confrontation unfolded with the methodical precision of a carefully executed project plan. I approached the dissolution of my relationship with Samantha like debugging a complex system. Identify the problem, isolate the affected components, remove the corrupted code, and rebuild from a stable foundation. Sunday morning, while I should have been adjusting my tie for wedding photos, I sat in my apartment systematically canceling vendors. The caterer was understanding. They dealt with runaway grooms before. The florist less so, but kept the deposit. The band was actually relieved they had a backup gig that paid better. I documented everything, calculated costs, prepared itemized invoices for Samantha detailing exactly how much her 30 minutes of sexual entertainment had cost in real dollars. My phone had been ringing constantly since Saturday evening. Samantha, her parents, concerned relatives who'd heard conflicting stories about why the wedding was off. I let them all go to voicemail, creating a digital record of desperation that would be useful if she tried to claim I'd been abusive or manipulative. The messages escalated from tearful apologies to angry accusations to desperate bargaining. By Wednesday, she was promising therapy, complete transparency, whatever it took to fix this. But some systems are too corrupted to repair. Sometimes you have to burn it down and start over. Derek's situation was more complex due to custody considerations. He'd retained a divorce attorney who specialized in infidelity cases, someone who understood that documented evidence of sexual impropriety could influence child custody arrangements. Rebecca had moved back in with her parents, taking the kids, claiming Derek had become emotionally abusive since discovering her betrayal. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. "She's telling people I'm controlling and paranoid," Derek told me over coffee Thursday morning. "Says I went through her phone without permission." "Did you?" I asked. "I didn't need to. You handed me everything on a silver platter." He stared into his cup. 8 years, man. 2 kids who don't understand why daddy's so angry all the time. Jason's situation had evolved differently. Michelle had initially tried the aggressive defense strategy, claiming the videos were manipulated, that I was a jealous ex trying to break up happy marriages. But when confronted with evidence that couldn't be disputed, she'd shifted tactics entirely. She admitted everything, Jason said when we met for lunch. Said she'd been planning to leave me anyway, that the bachelorette party was her way of testing the waters. Apparently, I'm emotionally unavailable, and she needs someone more adventurous. "How do you feel about that?" I asked. Relieved, honestly. He looked surprised by his own answer. "Turns out I've been married to a stranger for 5 years. The woman I thought I knew never existed." The 3 of us had formed an unlikely support group, meeting twice a week to compare notes on our legal proceedings and psychological recovery. We shared resources, the same divorce attorney, the same therapist, the same gym where we worked out our rage on heavy bags instead of taking it out on our ex-wives. Samantha's attempts at reconciliation became increasingly desperate as the week progressed. She showed up at my apartment Wednesday night, standing in the hallway in pajamas and a coat, crying about how sorry she was, how it had meant nothing, how she'd do anything to fix this. "It's not fixable," I told her through the security chain. "Some things can't be undone." "About I love you," Samantha protested. "You love the life we built together. You loved the security, the future we planned, the version of yourself that got to be the good girl while secretly being someone else." I studied her face through the gap in the door. "What you don't love is me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have been able to do what you did." Thursday brought news that Michelle had already moved in with a coworker from her accounting firm, a man she'd apparently been getting close to for months before the bachelorette party. Her marriage hadn't been killed by one night of sexual impropriety. It had been dying slowly while she planned her exit strategy. The party had just been her way of having cake and eating it too. Rebecca's story was different but equally devastating. Derek's attorney had discovered she'd been carrying on an emotional affair with her personal trainer for 6 months. The bachelorette party had been her chance to escalate from emotional cheating to physical betrayal, using her sister's bad decisions as cover for her own. Friday evening, I sat in my apartment, staring at the wall where our engagement photos used to hang. The lease was up next month, and I'd already started looking for a new place. Somewhere clean, modern, with no memories of the life I'd planned with Samantha. The apartment we'd shared felt contaminated now, every corner holding reminders of promises that had been lies. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, one of Samantha's friends, probably, trying to intercede on her behalf. The message was longer than expected. Maya wrote, "Ethan, this is Maya, Samantha's cousin. I was at the bachelorette party. I want you to know that I tried to stop them, but they said it was just harmless fun. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. What they did wasn't right. You deserve better." Attached was a photo I hadn't seen before. The three women the morning after the party, laughing over breakfast while reviewing photos from the night before. Not an ounce of regret or guilt among them. Just three married women celebrating their successful deception of the men who loved them. I forwarded the photo to Derek and Jason, then deleted the conversation. Some evidence was worth preserving, some was just salt in wounds that were finally starting to heal. The week ended with me deleting Samantha's contact information from my phone, blocking her on all social media platforms, and signing a lease on a new apartment across town. The systematic unraveling was complete. Every connection severed, every shared asset divided, every promise voided. I'd entered the week as a betrayed fiancé consumed with righteous anger. I was ending it as something else entirely. A man who'd learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, but reconstruction. Building something better from the ashes of what came before. My new apartment had become a sanctuary of controlled minimalism. Clean lines, modern furniture, no photographs of the past. The morning sun streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating a space that belonged entirely to me. No compromises, no shared decisions, no accommodating someone else's taste in throw pillows. The laptop, where I'd first discovered Samantha's betrayal, now served exclusively creative purposes. I'd been promoted to senior developer at my firm and was 3 months into a startup project with a former colleague. The app we were building, a platform for verified testimonials and reputation management, felt appropriately ironic. We were creating systems to help people identify trustworthy individuals and businesses. Professional paranoia monetized. The monthly dinner with Derek and Jason had become a ritual of accountability and friendship. We met at different restaurants, comparing notes on our rebuilt lives like generals reviewing successful campaigns. Derek had won primary custody of his children after Rebecca's emotional affair became public record. His construction business was thriving. Apparently, going through a divorce had made him more focused and driven than ever. Kids are adjusting better than expected, Derek had reported last week. Turns out they were picking up on the tension long before I confronted Rebecca. Now that everything's out in the open, they seem relieved. Jason had surprised us all by documenting his post-divorce journey on social media. His Instagram feed showed him hiking through European cities, learning photography, trying foods he'd never experienced during his marriage. The captions were thoughtful, sometimes philosophical. He'd gained thousands of followers who found inspiration in his story of reinvention. Michelle reached out last month, Jason had told us, wanted to clear the air and find closure. I told her I'd already found both those things, and they didn't require her participation. Through social media glimpses and inevitable small-town gossip, I'd learned the fates of the three women who'd shattered their own lives for 30 minutes of sexual gratification. Samantha had moved back in with her parents, battling depression and struggling to rebuild her social reputation. The canceled wedding had become neighborhood legend, with details growing more dramatic in each retelling. Rebecca had lost not just her marriage, but her relationship with her children, who'd chosen to live with their father full-time rather than endure the custody battle. Her attempts to paint Derek as controlling had backfired when her own betrayals became public. The woman who'd prided herself on being the perfect mother had become a cautionary tale about choices and consequences. Michelle had relocated to Phoenix with her co-worker-turned-boyfriend, but their relationship had already imploded, according to mutual friends. Apparently, men who were willing to sleep with married women weren't always the most trustworthy partners themselves. She'd posted a few cryptic messages about learning from mistakes and growing as a person, but they felt performative rather than genuine. The evening ritual had become sacred to me. I'd pour a glass of wine, sit in my reading chair, and review the day's accomplishments. The startup was gaining traction. My relationship with my family had deepened after they'd witnessed my handling of the crisis. I'd started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand how I'd missed so many warning signs. You trusted someone who was untrustworthy, my therapist had explained. That says something about your character, not theirs. The goal isn't to become suspicious of everyone, but to become better at recognizing authenticity. My phone buzzed with a notification, a text from a number I didn't recognize. For a moment, muscle memory tensed, preparing for another attempt at contact from my past. But this was different. Sarah wrote, "Hi Ethan, this is Sarah from the coffee shop on 17th Street. You probably don't remember me, but you helped me with my laptop a few weeks ago when it crashed. I was wondering if you'd like to grab coffee sometime? No pressure, just thought I'd ask. I remembered her. Dark hair, genuine smile, the kind of person who said please and thank you to baristas. She'd been frantic about losing work files when her computer froze, and I'd spent 20 minutes helping her recover everything. No hidden agenda, no manipulation, just one human being helping another. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "I'd like that. When works for you?" 6 months after my world had collapsed, I was finally ready to consider building something new. Not because I'd forgotten the past or forgiven the betrayals, but because I'd processed them completely. I'd learned that some people were worthy of trust and others weren't. The challenge was becoming skilled enough to tell the difference. I walked to my laptop and deleted the final folder of evidence from Samantha's betrayal. Not out of forgiveness. Forgiveness was irrelevant to someone who'd never asked for it genuinely. But because I no longer needed it. The past had been processed, consequences had been distributed, and justice had been served through the simple act of refusing to pretend betrayal didn't matter. The man who'd bought that wedding suit was dead, but the man who'd risen from those ashes was stronger, wiser, and finally ready to trust again, carefully, selectively, but authentically. The future stretched ahead, uncertain but clean, and for the first time in 6 months, that felt like enough. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.